Hi, my name is Laura Joseph, and I am with Healing with Spirit. I provide spiritually based, integrative, holistic health and enrichment, and I've been doing this since 2006. And today I am sharing with you information regarding the COVID-19. Actually, I did a live video on Instagram on Saturday on 4/4/2020, which is 444, which is, we're going to go into that numerology number as well. But for some reason, I wasn't able to download it. So I wanted to share with you what it is that we are talking about. So we are talking about, first of all, it's a 444. What does that mean? Well, we're in a 4-year in numerology, and what I've been seeing play out is a work year. And a work year meaning spiritual work. We have been living by the constructs of ego and colonization and patriarchy for about 1,000 years. And the universe is trying to get us to shift. Mother Earth is trying to get us to shift. And a lot of what we consider spiritually bypassing is actually no longer acceptable way of living moving forward. So I pulled some cards to try to get an idea of what was happening energetically and, to try to better understand, in a sense, the energies. And here's the thing. It's very difficult to pull cards without bias and ego. So it has taken me 3 weeks to make sure the alignment was there, for the information to flow effortlessly and freely, and to make sure that the information I was getting wasn't my own constructs of my mind. And but this is what we came up with, okay? So this is what the cards we showed here, to get back here. So here is what we have here. If you look here in the center here, we have the Queen of Cups, okay, with the Three of Cups. Over here we also have Mary Magdalene, the Raven. We also have the Surrender, Denial, and another Denial. So I actually pulled from 5 different decks I call these like clarification cards. And is it ironic or is it not that from 2 different decks, the same one about denial shows up? And I'm going to explain to you how that plays in. But let's go back here to the center card here. This is the Three of Cups, again, on top of the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups shows basically a mature woman. What does this mean? This is showing like, we are caring. This is about being compassionate, very intuitive, somebody that's in the flow of things, and who is emotionally stable and empathetic. She's also somebody who's very introspective and aware of her subconscious and her inner workings. So she has, if you notice, in one hand, she has the cup in one hand and her hand on her belly. This is basically the seat of her emotional body. This is where we carry our emotions. And she is also showing that we are very connected to the divine wisdom within. Again, this is where it's shown. Also the womb, right? This is where things are birthed. So what does this mean? You might be experiencing or having hunches or some sort of intuitive breakthroughs. Things that basically you might be saying, something just doesn't make sense. Something just doesn't feel right. I may not even, put my finger on it, but that's the kind of sensation that you might be feeling. So you might be also experiencing some sort of intuitive breakthrough that challenges also your old belief systems, that we might be having challenges, in a sense, to articulate ourselves in ways that we understand, because if we're changing and shifting and growing, we also might not understand how that works, okay? We also might be needing to understand the need to trust our instincts, okay, more than our logic. We have been told that everything comes from up here. This is the knowing. But is it? This is the knowing right here, right in the gut, right in the belly. This is where the knowing is. So this is where, I know early in my years studying mediumship and everything else and this whole psychic development, most that go through that challenge, is this really true or is this not? I mean, we go through that doubting phase and learning to trust those instincts that kind of come forward, okay? So this also means here, when we go back here, that we need to cocoon and we need to go within. Is exactly, again, her hands on the womb, showing that we need to cocoon, we need to go in, and this is exactly what we need to be doing right now. This is about taking a break and getting in touch with ourself, our feelings before we make any decisions or move in basically in any kind of direction. It is also important to make sure that these hunches that we have are not influenced by rigid worldly logic that conflicts with our own intuitive nudge. In a sense, this is exactly why it's taken me 3 weeks to make sure that I wanted to make sure that there wasn't some sort of external influence. I wanted to make sure that what I'm providing for you here is coming to you as pure as possible from a divine perspective, okay? The Three of Cups here is showing us, and when we look at it all combined here together, again, they all have their own little meanings, but when we look at this in the grand scheme of things, this is about showing us that we have new lessons that are bringing us great insight. Again, the insight here, okay? And it's showing, collaboration. It's also showing collaboration. So, combined with the Queen of Cups is reminding us to trust our instincts on this one. So collaboration, things like collaboration, going and learning new things, maybe hiring individuals to help you learn, maybe hiring a healer or a spiritual advisor to help you navigate these flows so you know how to work with your soul and your very being. So these cards are also showing us that through collaboration, when we understand this, that our stresses will dissipate. Again, this is the battle between the soul and the ego. So when we come from a soul place, the ego can't take control anymore. That's kind of where we're at, right? The ego only has control because that's what we've allowed for 1,000 years. There's a lot of generational stuff, a lot of karmic stuff, a lot of past life stuff, as well as our own individual traumas and experiences that are surfacing. So this is not a time to, again, ignore them and say, oh, I don't have time for this, or it's just too much. No, it's not let them take over, but it's about how do we see them, observe them, and either befriend them, make friends with them, release them, heal them, let them go, whatever it might be that you need to get to that treasure that's buried deep inside, okay? So you might also be finding ways, in a sense, again, it goes back to this, new ways of being and that groups that are helping you get there. So again, finding that spiritual community that can help you get there. Now, when we see this with the Ace of Cups, there's a lot of hard inner work we're being faced. Again, this is a collective thing, and, we're all being called to step it up a bit. And again, we've been living this way for over 1,000 years, being really disconnected from our great mother, from the divine that's within us. It's all connected, all right? We are also being reminded to grow. That this is all about spiritual maturity here, by the way, too. This is about getting more emotionally mature. What does that mean? We think of a 3-year-old that has a temper tantrum, right? And then we go, right? And they kind of really exacerbate their emotions and kind of go all over the place. Though the older we get, we have a better way of working through our emotions, all right? So this is about emotional maturity. And this is about that we're all going deeper into a more meaningful part of our evolution for a full understanding of what we're experiencing, in a sense, with this COVID-19 and all the tentacles that are all kind of at play right now. Because there's more than one, there's more than just the COVID that's happening. There's a lot of, which is not for the reading today, but there's a lot of immaturity that's happening and greed and gluttony as well, which is showing up here, and a lot of gaslighting and abuse. So this is the dichotomy that's kind of playing out right now. Because when we look at the Page of Pentacles up here, we want to think, for instance, learn from our failures, learn from the immaturity of our culture, okay? Again, our society, the American culture, was founded on the ideology of colonization. What does that mean? That means it's under the premise that of enslavement, take, maim, gluttony, use up all the resources as long as it goes to profit. Think about that, okay? That premise really hasn't changed, okay, on its foundation. This is also about manifestation and financial opportunities. This is also a good time, since we are in quarantine, if you've been wanting to learn something new, whether it's music, art, or a new skill, this is a good time to be that avid student. This is where we can grow emotionally in that maturity aspect that we were talking about. And this is also the message of new beginnings, inspiration, the initial stages of something new. So this is a new way of looking also at materialism. One of the things that is happening, we talked about the abuses here. This is like, the gaslighter, the abuser, the maimer, the one that hurts us, okay? This is what has led us to here. And this is the disenchantment of the selfishness that is looming really large right now. And that's part of the shadows that's surfacing. The men in the background, if you notice, look kind of all defeated. And they don't know, how to, overcome this. And the guy in front is kind of arrogant and, also has lost maybe a lot of his followers because they maybe believed, in a sense, the false prophet. There's a smug expression of ignorance that's kind of being shown. So my question to you is, based on all this, part of the emotional maturity is, are we ready to stand up to the oppressor, to the abuser, to the gaslighter? Because the veil has been lifted, okay? The veil has been lifted. Okay? There's no way, like in the movie Matrix, we can't go back and retake a pill and go back asleep. Once we know the truth, we know the truth. It's now, are we ready to be emotionally mature enough to see the truth being shown to us? Because the high priestess is also reminding us of the possible anger and resentment that might be showing up as we are dealing with our stuff. So this is the possible caution, in a sense, of make sure that you're not letting toxic emotions rise and take over and brew instead of doing what we actually came here to do. So the cards in the present is basically to work on that emotional maturity and to deal with our shit and to stop spiritually bypassing, all right? For those who need more information about what I mean by spiritual bypassing, I do have a couple of videos I've done last year on that topic, and I could share with you with that as well. So when we look over here with the Lover's card, now this is a dual card. What I see happening here, in a sense, this Lover's card here, one, it's a 6. So when I look at the number 6, I see that very connected with, that's relational. And that's the relationship with yourself. That's the relationship between your ego and the soul. Who has more power, right? Or is there an equal balance between the ego that's living within you or the soul? It's about that equilibrium and that balance. It's also the relation card between yourself and others and how that's playing out. This card combined with the others is telling us to do the inner work so our emotions don't cloud what we see from an intuitive standpoint. So again, the emotional maturity keeps showing up here, all right? It's also showing up to lead from the soul, because the soul doesn't see things as good or bad. It just sees things as change. And it's especially if we're being triggered or feeling gaslighted or feeling manipulated, it's even more important to take a step back. And basically, this is where the denial comes in, is to take a step back and to really look at those as triggers and see that there's something underlying beneath that that's showing up for us to work on, all right? If we don't do this, then we can react in a way that goes against what we really truly intend. And if we are led by triggers and emotions, then we are creating also a false sense of urgency. So the high priestess here is never swayed by these emotions. So this is about mastering the calm within the storm. This is the balance, right? All right. We are a culture of paper certification and degrees. And with that said, the King of Swords here is also reminding us that we do not need the knowledge of the so-called academia world right now to be great. If you are keeping focused on being with that creative vision and working with that soul piece and that intuitive piece by following that divine wisdom that's within, okay, that divine here, that's within all of us and our spirit and our soul, as well as working with our ancestors, because that's been showing up a lot just in general, is working with our ancestors. Now, when we look at what's happening here, this is also the struggle, by the way, the temptation of bringing about transformation. We go back there, about who we are, who we have been in the world. Part of this, what this is challenging, by the way, is it's the transformation. Again, we're cocooning. We're letting go the identity of the caterpillar so we can morph into the butterfly. And in order to morph into the butterfly, we have to liquefy. We have to be isolated. We have to let go of all the identity and all the attachments associated with the caterpillar. And that's where a lot of times us as humans, we want to get to the destination, but we don't always realize the work that it takes to get there. And this is the struggle that we're in right now. So with the temptation of bringing about the transformation of who we have been into the world and who we are becoming. This is the dichotomy that's playing out. Now the tower is also showing here, right, when we look at the tower, that what we believe based on a colonized mindset of a system is shifting, and what is the relationship between ourselves, others, and what's politically happening is shifting as well. But the outcome is going to be determined by us as individuals working together collectively as the individual pieces to the larger puzzle, all right? Mary Magdalene here, when you look at this, it's funny because out of all the years I've had this deck, I don't think she's ever shown up in any of these types of readings that I've done. And she's also showing us to focus on love, all right? And when you focus there, however, the tower, when we go back to the tower here, is also reminding us that we may realize that we may not know what love looks like. Again, we have grown up in a colonized system that love is Cinderella and Snow White and white picket fences in suburban houses. And that is not reality, all right? That's what we've been conditioned to believe. So now we have to really take a step back and really reevaluate, do we really know what love looks like? All right. The Page of Pentacles is, and all the other cards are telling us that we need to go back to the drawing board and relearn what this love piece really looks like, and to dismantle the whole colonized fantasies of these false realities. Okay, this is the denial that we might be in right now, okay, in this whole love piece. Now, when we look at the tower here, this is a sign of big ass changes, okay? This is the disruption that has been shaken to the core, the foundation of all things. It's showing us what is happening right now with COVID-19 and all the amplification on all the other stuff that has destabilized our way of being, our way of living, governing, etc. This care is acknowledging the rapid transformation that's happening right here and occurring in our world is due to forces that are beyond our control. Again, like the caterpillar that's in the cocoon right now. The chaos that's being unleashed, think of a hurricane or a blizzard, all right? And that you want to master, again, you want to think there's always the calm within the storm, always. But when we mix this with the high priestess and the surrender cards with the denial pieces, then this has to do with our avoidance, maybe. So I would say take a step back and pause and see if maybe you're fighting this resistance piece, and understanding that maybe there's some avoidance of certain realities, maybe to blame others for a part of your own world that's maybe crashing apart. What this means is that maybe we're not taking full responsibility, not for being laid off or, those type of situations, or maybe losing a loved one for, due to the virus, but it's taking responsibility for our reactions, our triggers, the fact that maybe we're spiritually bypassing, all right, and ignoring the inner work that we really need to do here, and the opportunity that we are actually being given to do it. So my question to you is, if what we created and built in our world, all right, cannot handle all the disruption without collapsing, then perhaps it's time to build something new in our life. Again, something new. This is where the emotional maturity needs to come in. And the call to action is the high priestess here. And the world has many secrets right now in it that is being unlocked, and taking the less obvious path to any and all the answers is basically the root of favor of this card. So the high priestess is showing us to follow your hunches, to learn to decipher the truth by being the student, okay? Again, being the student. And we are told by many elements of society to only go on what we know versus how we feel. So this is where we want to stop. We want to stop, we want to pause, and we want to see what's happening, what's surfacing, do some body inventory. I've always said, if you pay attention to, if you join a lot of my Facebook group lives, you'll see I talk a lot about listening to the wisdom of the body, because it will tell you everything you need to know. When we look at the chariot here, and it's funny because the chariot showed up today in today's Facebook Live. It's all about control, but not control in the sense of what you may think. We are in a time of struggle when we can conquer all the opposing, in this case, the ego, the old belief system, the old colonized way of thinking. We will actually emerge victorious. All right? We will emerge victorious. What we need to learn. This is how these two cards here are exerting an awful lot of energy, but it's backed with the Raven. Look, it's about owning our own power, but it's not in the way we think. It's through the power of intuition. It's through the power. There we go. So it's about connecting with the divine within and seeing, connecting with that peace and that voice. So what we're here to learn right now is, one, to appreciate our struggle as that we're currently in, because when we can stop, appreciate, then things can shift. We bless it, we honor it, we seek the inner wisdom, we find the spiritual teachers that we may need to help us get through and guide us. We collaborate with others to help us on our path. And we know that the celebration, the Three of Cups, again, the three, okay? And like in various religions, past, present, future. Last year was a 3-year. It's also the Holy Trinity in Christianity. I can make a list of what the number 3 symbolizes. But know that the celebration that we will have if we do all this work will be more enjoyable with our challenges. When we look at our challenges, just focus on like, geez, when we get through this, can you imagine the celebration and the party and all that's going to happen when we don't have all that weight that we've been carrying around, not only in this lifetime, but for decades, for centuries, and for millennia. The inner battle that will be won is if you have the courage to face and battle the inner demons, the shadows, the darkness, and all those triggers, and all those things that we have been avoiding. The role that we play basically is going within. This is not an external job. This is an internal job. We are made up of frequency and vibration, and if we shift our inner environment, the external environment will naturally shift. That's just physics, okay? So this is how we resonate. And so when all the answers we are looking for is actually within us, we are part of the whole collective. Each one of us has a role to play in the greater consciousness and the life on the planet. And if we all play our role and do our work, don't worry what somebody else is doing. Don't worry if they're not following it, because if you are, I had a vision several years ago and it showed me all this chaos. And what I heard was, you're going to see a lot of this. Don't get off your path. So this is the call for us to step up and to be on our path. Part of living this and doing the soul work too is not abusing our Mother Earth anymore. No more polluting. How are we buying our products? How are we living sustainably? Are we gluttonous in our consumerism? All right, this is all, we've got to really all evaluate this. This is all part of what we need to shift. The Raven is reminding us, again here, there is reminding us to for us to own our power. This is the opportunity during these cocooning times to tap in and take our power back, but to also emerge better and as better stewards of this land that we reside on, yet abused daily by the choices that we make. That we can either poison our mother, our loved ones, and ourselves, or we can honor, respect, and love her and take only what we need and understand that there's a greater life and balance that's at play here. All right. So for instance, part of like when we eat, do you know where your food comes from? This is all part of sustainability. Are you eating an animal that has been abused? Or are you eating an animal that was lovingly raised in an organic farm and not tortured when it was killed? So this is part of the dichotomy again that's at play. These are some of the choices. The social justice piece is huge, but it's how we living it. All right. So I'm hoping that what I shared with you here today, it has been helpful. Whoops, I'm trying to get back here. Has been helpful. and just understand that we're in this together, and it's about what role are we here to play in the larger scheme of things. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I do offer free spiritual enrichment groups every Monday with meditation, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays so far in Facebook Live on my group called Reiki and Spiritual Enrichment with Laura Healing with Spirit. I also do private sessions right now, since we're all in quarantine. I do offer sessions through Zoom, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me there. My website, by the way, is www.laurahealingwithspirit.com. Please leave your comments, your feedback, because this is very helpful to me and how we move forward together. Thank you. Have a great day.